You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Now, this story that I'm going to talk about right now is a frightening story. This will make you physically ill and scare you, okay? And it should scare you, and it should make you physically ill because we're living in a different country today than we were in a year and a half or 2 years ago in many, many ways. You know, if you look in the past at all the dictatorships and fascist governments, Castro's Cuba, Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, and China today, it's not just illegal for you to speak out against the government. That's illegal. You know, it's illegal in China. It was illegal in, well, it still is illegal in Cuba. It was illegal in the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. It was illegal to speak out against the government. Everyone knows that. But what a lot of people don't know, in all of these places, including China today, it's not just illegal to speak out against the government. If I'm speaking out against the government and you hear it and you don't report me, you are guilty too. You understand what I mean? Isn't that crazy? Well, listen to this. This was on Tucker Carlson last night. Now, on the radio this morning, I talked about a story that Tucker Carlson had. I did not talk about this one. And that was not by accident. I didn't talk about this story on the radio this morning because it was so depressing and upsetting to me. I didn't want to deal with it in the morning with all the other depressing news that's coming out of the Biden regime. And, you know, we've been through a lot of terrible things in this country. I've never seen something like this. Listen to this. And if you saw Tucker Carlson last night and you weren't paying too close attention, maybe it didn't sink into you how serious this is. And if it didn't, it wasn't that you weren't paying attention closely enough. It's probably because on some subconscious level, you didn't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. You understand what I mean? Listen to this. Last night, I'm reading from the Gateway Pundit. They have a story on this, which I tweeted, by the way, if you want more details. And I'm going to read from the Gateway Pundit. Last night, Tucker Carlson interviewed Lisa Gallagher during a segment of his show. Lisa Gallagher told Tucker Carlson that 3 FBI agents showed up at her door the day after Joe Biden's speech because of an anonymous complaint over January 6th. She was not even at the Capitol that day. Red States reported this. We've been reporting on the efforts of the federal law enforcement bureaucracy to harass and target Trump allies with reported FBI raids on the homes of supporters to execute search warrants and the DOJ dropping subpoenas on people. Now, one New Jersey woman, Lisa Gallagher, has come forward saying that the FBI showed up at her doorstep the morning after Joe Biden delivered his anti-MAGA speech. That would be the speech from the gates of hell that he gave in front of the...
Yes.
Okay, in Philadelphia. Gallagher is not a Trump ally. She's just a regular person and Trump supporter. Not a Trump ally means she didn't work for Trump or anything. She appeared on Tucker Carlson and she shared her story there. Here's a transcript from the segment that I'm going to read to you now. Okay?
Okay.
And the reason I'm doing this, reading this transcript and everything, because I want you to hear exactly what was said and understand. This is Tucker Carlson talking. Lisa Gallagher, as we told you, was one of the many Trump supporters who woke up to an FBI raid earlier this month. We are grateful that she is willing to tell us about it. And then this is Tucker. I'm reading the transcript. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on. I just want to be clear. You have not committed a crime of any kind. I don't think you have ever been accused of a crime or even at the Capitol on January 6th. I don't think you were even in Washington. Tell us how you felt when Joe Biden's FBI showed up with guns at your home in the morning after his speech. Now, this is the woman, Lisa.
So this just happened like last week.
Mm-hmm. I was terrified, she says, and I'll be honest with you. When my daughter woke me up telling me there were 3 armed FBI officers at my door, I thought she was joking, and I immediately tried to throw clothes on. I called my husband crying. My knees were shaking. And even though I knew I had done nothing wrong after seeing Joe Biden's speech the night before, I thought, oh my God, this is political, and I was frightened. I truly thought that they could take me out of here in handcuffs, and I thought, I'm in my bedroom, and I thought, am I coming home? So I went outside, and I said, gentlemen, You were scaring me. And they proceeded to tell me they were given an anonymous tip that I was at the Capitol on January 6th.
I mean, this is what happens in Cuba.
That's what I said.
And these, exactly. And
this is what happens in all these places.
I mean, we live in South Florida where there's a lot of Cubans. My brother-in-law is Cuban. His family came here in the 60s, his parents. And we hear a lot of stories on the news of people, especially we would hear a lot in the 80s when they had the boat lift and all this stuff. And they had an onslaught of Cubans that came here. And, remember in Scarface, Al Pacino came over on that. And we would hear lots of stories of people talking about this exact thing happening where their neighbors and other people would just report them. It's like the Salem witch trials. It's the same thing where the girls would all report, she's a witch, and the next thing you know, they're in trouble.
Well, this story here,
it's no different.
Okay, it's one thing if somebody was in the Capitol building or nearby that day and they posted some picture on social media. This person wasn't even in Washington, D.C. Some liberal neighbor, she had a Trump sign, according to the FBI, reported her. That may not even be true, by the way. Who knows if they got an anonymous tip? But this is the kind of country we are in today. And I know that's a scary story.
Yeah.
And it's a scary story because
but they left her. She had to prove she had to prove she was not there on her phone, and then they left her alone.
She had a calendar. And she showed them her calendar, and they said, okay, and they left. They could have figured that out before they went. But that was
to know the story behind that.
There's nothing to know.
No, I'd like to know who was the anonymous tip.
Well, how convenient.
Well, if not, why did they target them? I'd love to know a little bit more about her. And I wish Tucker, because I saw that interview, would have gotten a little bit more into it. Like, who do you think called them, or why do you think they came to your house? Is there any connection? What does your husband do for a living or anything? I'd like to know how it happened where they didn't just walk down the street and pick that house. There was a reason they went there to that house. There's something I felt that was missing from that interview where they didn't tell us. I'm not saying they did anything wrong, but there was a hole in that story where I wanted to know, how did they end up at her door? Was it somebody that didn't like them that just reported them? I mean, these things happen. Look at MTG got swatted and all these things happen like this. Did somebody that her husband doesn't like, somebody at work, somebody doesn't like him? What I'd like to know about that, how that whole thing.
We'll never know. But this is what we do know.
Still scary.
Okay. We have radical Democrats that are using their offices and their authorities like a bunch of bad cops, intimidating political opponents and perceived political opponents, and this is not America now.
Well, they just said on Meet the Press, Chuck Todd interviewed Kamala, and he actually, I couldn't believe this. He said, are we in more danger now with domestic terrorists, meaning MAGA, more than we were after on 9/11? And I thought that was absolutely a reckless, appalling question to ask her, she's a complete idiot. And I thought, they've got this messaging going out, and Biden's helping promote this. And I don't know if they met with a PR group or a marketing group, but all of a sudden now, in the last month or so, they've had this really pushing this message of domestic terrorism, that we're dangerous. And the reason they're doing that is to use the Patriot Act to justify going after us with this way.
Well, that's the other thing.
I mean, that's what they're doing. They're weaponizing this to go after their political opponents.
That's the other thing Tucker Carlson talked about, that they are using the Patriot Act in all of these cases. And I was opposed to the Patriot Act. It's a terrible thing. And it should not have been expanded. It should have expired when the war on terror, immediate threat here in the homeland after 9/11 expired.
I think George Bush's father convinced him to do that. He was in the CIA, and I think he was a much more corrupt person than we were led to believe. And I feel that he really convinced his son to pass that. And
they're using him.
And
now,
exactly.
Today, I brought something up on the radio, and there's an article proving that my speculation was correct.
Yes.
And I've got such a strange call from a woman at the end of the show on the radio today. If you go on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig on YouTube, in the last 15 minutes of the show, I can't remember exactly what time it was, but it was in the last segment after the Gold Report on the radio show. So the last 15-minute segment of the show, a woman called in, I'll tell you about in a moment, and it was very, very, very strange, okay? And I came up with this theory because I was watching President Trump at the golf course in D.C. Now, we were all talking yesterday, a lot of people were talking, this unplanned trip of Donald Trump's to Washington. It was very strange. He flew there on his jet. It was just odd. He got off the plane in his golf shoes, and he does have a golf resort up in D.C., but he rarely goes there. In fact, I can't remember him ever going there. I'd forgotten he had a golf resort there. He's typically either at Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, or Bedminster, okay? And but he flew there. He got off his jet in his golf shoes, and then the media and others were saying, oh, no, he's there to play golf. Ha, 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 you conspiracy theorist. And I said that he was going there for a meeting with somebody. It just seemed odd because it was unannounced. President Trump doesn't go anywhere without announcing it, put on True Social. And then early this morning when I was doing my show prep before I went to the radio station, I went online and I started watching all of the video footage that I could find of Trump at the golf course and still pictures. And I noticed something. He wasn't playing golf in any of the pictures. And so I went through this whole thing about how he wasn't playing golf. And another thing I noticed about it.
No golf clubs, too.
Yeah, he didn't have golf clubs. Not only was he not playing golf, the people that he had with him on the golf course was a larger group of people than he would normally have. Yep. It was very weird. A lot of people, because he's always got people with him, but not this many. It was a lot of people. And I didn't recognize them. And also, they weren't being identified in the media that was showing this video of him playing golf yesterday. I thought that was strange. And I also noticed that he had this group and they were kind of like huddled around talking. And what I said on the radio this morning, I said, Donald Trump isn't there playing golf. He's not playing golf. He's got no golf clubs. He's got this group huddled around on the golf course. They're talking. He's having a meeting with these people about something that's going on with Mar-a-Lago or this other grand jury that they've got on the embezzlement BS thing they're doing. And he's at the golf course because every place else he has is bugged, and he knows there's no listening devices out on the golf course.
That's exactly. It's like out of a movie.
And a lady called me up at the end of the show. It was so weird. And then this is in the last segment. If you go on my YouTube video for today, it's after the Gold Report, the last segment of the show. She was one of the last callers of the show. I can't remember exactly what time. And you can hear this call. She was whispering, told me she was at work, but she was talking low, like she didn't want to be heard. Yeah. And then she was telling me she was in the golf course business, and she had some connection to Trump. And that he was out there talking to them about renovations and repairs to the course, that the course is in disrepair. And I'm like, I don't buy this. And she started getting all kinds of details about his course in Doral, and she's with some company that does. And I said,
I don't know anything.
I don't believe that at all. I think it was very strange. Well, what it felt like to me is she was calling in doing a misdirect, like I was letting something out that I wasn't supposed to. Right. And of course, I don't want to let anything out about Donald Trump. I'm not supposed to, but she was like trying to walk me. But it's very strange. So the Daily Mail has a report today.
And I want to say, by the way, before you get to that, is when you did the show Monday and you were talking about this.
Well, no, this was today.
No, but when you talked about him on the golf course, wasn't that yesterday?
It was yesterday and yesterday about the trip and today.
Right. So yesterday when you talked about the trip of him going to D.C., and you said it was more than, and a lot of people said to you and called in and wrote saying, oh, well, it's just golfing. He's just golfing. And a lot of people poo-pooed your theory.
Yeah, 2 days of this.
That you were wrong, and it turns out you were right.
Yeah, and if you notice, he got off the plane in the golf shoes. I've never seen him get off a plane in golf shoes, and it was a misdirect. He was trying to, so anyway, let me share this with you. This is in the Daily Mail. This just came out a little bit after noontime today. So I had 2 days of this. I'm hearing people tell me I'm crazy. Here's the Daily Mail. Where are the golf clubs? Trump's surprise game of golf in D.C. yesterday was actually a very private meeting with his lawyers, including Ty Cobb, who said Trump, is in serious legal hot water over the Mar-a-Lago raid. Donald Trump was pictured at his golf course in Virginia, just outside D.C., Monday without golf clubs. The lack of clubs fueled speculation he was meeting with lawyers about a potential impending indictment. One person said they were there meeting with colleagues and business associates, but now we're finding out that he was with an attorney, and this had and he was there. They don't say this in the article, but it was obvious he was there because that place is not bugged, and all of his properties are bugged. His planes, his vehicles, it's all bugged. And now probably what these people are doing are putting listening devices on the greens at all of his golf courses around America.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's probably what their next move will be.
But it was not a trip for golfing, because they went to the golf course and there was a picture of 4 golf carts full of men, and there was not one set of golf clubs in those carts. So obviously, hey, look, that's fine. That's what he wants to do. And he knows that there's going to be pictures about that. And I think he wants those pictures out there. He wants people to know that he's there meeting and strategizing. I really am curious what the next move is. And I want you guys to tell us, and I'll take a poll on this. Do you guys think Trump's going to make a deal with the Garland?
No way.
I'm not saying I want him to make a deal, but I think he will. That's just I think they're going to present to him what they have, and I think they're going to threaten him with an indictment and possible prison time. I mean, do you really think he can get a fair trial in D.C.? No. And they're going to say to him, do you really want to risk going to jail and have that look of a mugshot and this and that and handcuffs? I mean, come on. Or if you walk away from politics and retire, never run again, we will drop all of this and leave you alone for the rest of your life. Do you think that he would make that deal? And as I've said on the podcast before, I don't think he will. I don't want him to, but I wouldn't blame him if he did. And I've said this to Brian. How much can we expect this man to take on our behalf? But again, yesterday he truthed. I check his truth all the time. And yesterday he truthed that that he will never give up and that he will never stop fighting. So I don't think it's in Trump's DNA to quit and make a deal.
Before we break, when we talk about it, we talked about this on a couple episodes ago. So just let me tell people what we were talking about. This is not going to happen. Trump's not going to take a deal. But we were talking. We were talking about what their latest scheme is, and they got a lot of schemes going on. These evil creeps,
That's for sure.
But one of them is they're going to go to him with an indictment and try to make a deal. When I take the Garland people, they're going to go to Trump with an indictment, I believe, secretly, and try to make a deal with him that he will not be indicted and arrested and go to jail.
Yeah, I think they will go with him with that.
If he agrees not to run for president.
Right.
And he's going to tell them the same. He's going to tell them the same thing he told Comey with the fake dossier, get the hell out of here. Now, I want to tell people, MyPillow, I just got an announcement from MyPillow, and this is absolutely and just an amazing special they have going on right now with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com. Their biggest bedsheet sale in the history of MyPillow. With our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, you can get the 100% Giza cotton dream sheets from MyPillow, just $29.98. $29.98. But you've got to use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. We have several sets of these sheets, and they are 100% Giza cotton, which is the finest cotton in the world. Mike Lindell, he says that, there's a lot of companies out there selling Giza cotton sheets, but they're only like 10% Giza cotton. The MyPillow Giza sheets are 100% Giza cotton. They perfectly regulate your body temperature, regardless of what the temperature is. My body, with our Giza Dream Sheets, is always the perfect body temperature, and they're soft and comfortable too.
Well, it's getting cooler now, so think about the flannel.
We have a set of those
sheets, and we have a set of those. And I got the green to match my Christmas linens, and I got to tell you, the flannel sheets are amazing. So now that it's going to start getting cooler and very cold in some parts of the country, I would seriously think about getting those flannel sheets. And I saw they're also having some specials on the towels and other things. So
yeah, there's a lot.
I really would start thinking about Christmas shopping. It's really, with these deals, it's really a good time to do it.
There's a lot of specials there at mypillow.com. You can take advantage of all of them with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. But this Giza sheet sale, this is the lowest price ever. $29.98.
Yeah.
You've got to use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, at mypillow.com to take advantage of it. We'll be right back.
From author Edward Nichols comes Insane Angels, available on Amazon. In Insane Angels, meet Michael Flagg, a hard-working, hard-partying Washington, D.C. medical student who wakes up one morning to a life-changing event. He discovers that he has acquired a halo. His girlfriend, Cheryl, suggests that he cash in on it, but Michael is more interested in answers. What caused the halo? Is he a holy man? Or is there something darker at work? To Cheryl, it's an opportunity. To Michael, it's a problem. When a clandestine government agency is tasked by the president to get to the bottom of the mystery, its deputy director, a rogue agent in no mood to babysit the haloed man, suddenly sees him as an existential threat. Now, Michael really has a problem. And even worse, unexpectedly begins to believe in the hysteria that now surrounds him. Insane Angels, a thriller that takes a short satirical look at our ego, false religions, love, spies, and redemption. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Insane Angels from author Edward Nichols. Available on Kindle and paperback. Do you like things that go bump in the night? The podcast, Spooky Songs, is hosted by two people obsessed with horror and music. Scary music is not just for Halloween. It can be enjoyed all year long. There are so many great songs that are creepy and scary. On Spooky Songs, they discuss them all. Hosts Levi and Edgar discuss musical history with a touch of comedy. Each episode features songs surrounding a theme having to deal with horror, hauntings, murder, or the macabre. Join them as they delve into the history and mysteries of the music industry's most peculiar playlist. New episodes are on the first and second Monday of every month. Spooky Songs is available on Spotify. Start listening right now. The Steve Kane 2023 MAGA Cruise is right around the corner. We leave January 28th on the Celebrity Apex out of Fort Lauderdale. First stop, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Then Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. And then St. Kitts. With exclusive events just for our group. Fine dining together every night. Cocktail parties. Shore excursions. On-board activities. And a whole lot more. On the line is Ian from Cruise and Travel Depot. Ian, why should listeners book right now?
I blocked this group space during COVID, during the height of the pandemic, so we got some incredible deals.
Call Ian right now and lock in your cabin. 561-244-5779. 561-244-5779. Join us as we celebrate our president, Donald Trump. Make your reservation right now. 561-244-5779. No liberal stowaways allowed.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Okay. There's been something going on in this country that is insane. Well, I guess everything that's going on is insane, but this is incredibly insane. China, who's a sworn enemy of the United States, even though we buy all our crap from there because the unions pushed all the manufacturing over there. But China has been buying up land around military bases. And of course, they're doing this to set up spy centers. Okay. In Afghanistan, China has taken over that big base we have over there, which is nearby China. And it was a listening post for us on China, but Biden got us out of there. Now China has it. So anyway, China's been buying up land around U.S. military bases. And this is done to set up spy operations so they can not only so they can see and hear what's going on close by, but so they can send their Chinese spy ladies out to seduce these military men. And you know what? These Chinese intelligence officers are not all Asian women. They can hire European women, even American women, to seduce these guys, and they'll know everything that's going on.
We have another Cold War going on.
It's everything. China. I don't know how cold it is. I think it's a little more active than a Cold War. So anyway, Kirby, who now works at the White House, remember the retired admiral who was the Pentagon spokesperson, he has a press conference today, and he's asked about the land being bought up near U.S. military bases by China. Listen to his response.
Known adversary, in the case China, foreign buyers are buying up U.S. real estate, in some cases farms around military installations. Is this on the administration's radar, and what is being done perhaps to study this or to protect Americans from making sure that homes remain affordable and so on?
I think the question of home ownership is a little bit out of my swim lane, but
national security issue, particularly when it comes to around military installations.
What I will tell you is that the president has been nothing but clear about our concerns about Chinese unfair trade practices and economic practices.
About trade.
I understand that, ma'am, but
security and buying up land around military installations.
I'm probably not the right person to ask about home ownership here in the United States.
This isn't about home ownership. This is about buying up land around military installations. Is that a concern to this administration?
Go ahead, April.
I sent this to your office last week. They've had a week to look at this, including the articles.
Okay, we can get back to you afterwards.
Okay, and he signaled to an assistant off to the side to jump in and get him on that. And if you notice, he tried to divert from it. He tried to say home ownership. Yeah. It's not about home ownership, because there is another story where foreign companies, China, are buying up single-family homes to jack up prices. But no. Then he tried to talk about, well, the president is in favor of fair trade. It's not about. They're buying up land around U.S. military bases to set up spy centers. Okay, that's what he's very well aware of this, and they do not want to deal with
everything that's going on. They're letting it happen.
That's right.
Why they're letting it happen. They're in China's back pocket, and these people, the way they look at it is, they want to enrich themselves and their families. They're not going to be here forever. So this guy's 60 years old. He figures, okay, maybe I'll live another 25, 30 years if I'm lucky. Whatever problems America has with China down the road, it's not going to affect me. And if I make my family wealthy enough, it's not going to affect them, because they'll be part of the upper crust, the elite. They are willing to sell out their country, sell out themselves for a price, and they're letting this
they've already done it
happen. And I think about when my cousin went to China about 5 years ago, my cousin Heather, and she came to visit us for Thanksgiving, and she told me, she said the tour guide told them that and they had an English tour guide all around China, and she said China is setting its sights on overtaking America as the dominant world power, and they will stop at nothing to make that happen. And this was even 5 years ago when they told her this. So this is not a new thing. This has been going on for a long time, way even probably with NAFTA and all these other things, setting the stage, getting manufacturing over there, getting us dependent on them to manufacture goods. And this has been a long time coming. And these politicians have known about this. They have been a party to this. And then Trump came along, and he was not a party to this, and he was trying to stop this and trying to get us not dependent on other countries and to be independent. And they don't want that. They want us completely, and they want to control the food supply. They want to control the housing market. They want to control information through social media apps. They are very, not so slowly anymore, taking over all aspects of our lives. And the politicians know what's going on, and they are letting it go on because they are being paid to let it go on. They're all on the take.
They're all on the take.
And they are being paid. And it's not just Democrats. And if you think it is, you're kidding yourself. It's most of them are being paid to do this and look the other way, and they're letting it happen. And I love all these people get on TV. Oh, we're concerned. That doesn't mean they're doing anything about it. They can say they're concerned, but do they ever say, well, this is what we're doing to stop this?
That's right.
You have to really pay attention to their verbiage and the way they say things. And they might say all the time, we're concerned. We're looking at it. We're taking a harder look. But what are they actually doing? Nothing. Jack squat. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, now I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And a great way to support this program and all the content, Kathy and I are bringing you the podcast, my YouTube channel, the radio show, a great way to support all of the content that I'm connected to, that I bring to you, is to become a Patreon supporter. And there is a link to our Patreon page in the description of this and every podcast episode. And there's also a link to my Patreon page in the description on YouTube. If you're watching me on YouTube or listening on YouTube right now, or you're watching one of my live streams on YouTube during the week, you can see the Patreon link there. All Patreon supporters are given commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. When you become a Patreon supporter, it's uploaded to our Patreon page. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out, as well as having their names listed in the description of all the podcast episodes. And also the YouTube video descriptions has the top Patreon supporters listed there. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, and Macho. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. And again, if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode.
And we will be adding some new perks. Mm-hmm. Our daughter has given us some new fun ideas, and we will be adding some new things. Emily right now is working on a new landing page for Brian and for this show and the radio show that'll have links to the Patreon, to the YouTube channel, to our merch shop. And we're also thinking about doing a mailing list and maybe a weekly newsletter and other things that we are working on with Patreons, as well as sending out to everybody on the mailing list.
Yeah, that's right. Now, also Jean-Pierre in her briefing today. This is insane. I'm just going to play this, then we'll talk about this, okay? She was asked about a follow-up to Kamala Harris' disastrous interview over the weekend, and where she said the border's secure. And this is Jean-Pierre today at the White House press briefing. Listen.
Administration, which largely just tried to build a wall, an ineffective wall, along the border, and couldn't even finish that in 4 years. We're certainly doing a lot more to secure the border, and could be doing even more if Republicans would stop their obstruction. That's it. I'm going to just take one last...
Okay. This is insane. The wall was almost finished. It got started very late. And the reason the wall was not completed, the Great Wall of Trump on the southern border, is because the Democrats were suing Trump and holding it up in Congress, including the funding.
And they know that
too. So that's why the wall was not finished. And, the border is – okay, Kamala Harris, when she said the border is secure, it is. They've just opened the door, okay? Even though the wall was not finished, the border was very secure because President Trump made a deal with Mexico. Mexico was guarding their northern border, right? Keeping people south of the border. They couldn't just come in here.
Well, they were holding them there. He told them if you don't hold them there, he said that we weren't going to give them money.
So the Mexican army
he said, you got to hold them, and they started doing that.
Yeah. So the border can be secure and was secure. They've just completely opened the door.
Yeah.
And this misdirect of her, everything with the Biden regime is a misdirect. It's propaganda. And it's a false narrative.
Yeah.
They've completely opened up the door of the southern border and said, come on in. And what's going on at the southern border, I talk about this a lot because it's very important, because people talk about the border all the time, but they don't talk. No one talks about what's really going on down there. Here's what's going on. The reason the southern border has been opened wide is not for all of the reasons that you think, okay? The Great Replacement Theory. These are all true, okay? The Great Replacement Theory and these other things are true, but that's not the main purpose of the border being open. What is going on at the southern border is the largest drug trafficking operation in the history of the planet Earth. What's happening, and this is...
Yeah, that's really, and China's behind that.
This is a fact, okay?
Yeah, that's really what's going on.
Fentanyl is increased in this country big time since Biden came in. It's all coming in through Mexico. The fentanyl is made at drug pharmaceutical plants in China. Right. China puts it on ships and ships it to ports on the Pacific coast of Mexico. The fentanyl is unloaded at these Pacific ports in Mexico. It's given to the drug cartels, and they put it in the pockets, backpacks, and purses and suitcases of the illegals that are crossing the border.
They're moving it through these illegals.
So it's a drug trafficking operation.
That's exactly
the other things that you think are going on down there are going on, but the primary purpose is the drug trafficking. And this country top people who, I don't know, are getting paid and are a party to this.
Yeah.
But it's a fentanyl drug trafficking operation, China to Mexico.
They're letting it happen.
To the cartels to the southern border, and the Democrat Party is behind it.
And they're making trillions of dollars, not to mention destroying the country and destroying the people. It's a twofold benefit for them. They're making a ton of money off of this, and they're also destroying American lives and causing death and destruction in this country. So it's benefiting them in the two ways. Right. And the politicians, again, on both sides, are looking the other way and letting this happen.
That's right. Now, listen, we're going to take our last break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
Hear that music? That means it's Christmas shopping season again. And when you're Christmas shopping, there's no better place to go than mypillow.com. And with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, you will find the lowest prices ever on top MyPillow products. Right now, order your MyPillow My Slippers for $90 off in all sizes and colors for both men and women. The MyPillow that started it all is just $19.98. The 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper is 50% off. The MyPillow pet bed is 50% off too. There's also incredible savings on the 6-piece MyPillow towel set, the 100% Giza cotton dream sheets, the MyPillow bathrobes. Whatever special you see at mypillow.com, you can take advantage of it with our promo code KANE, KANE, at checkout at mypillow.com. You can also order over the phone, 1-800-716-4879, 1-800-716-4879, promo code KANE, KANE. It's time for a smart ring for your smart lifestyle. The Active Pro Ring online at ActiveProX.com is revolutionary. The smart ring does it all. It can take the place of your access cards, parking cards, membership cards, shopping cards, and other RFID cards. The ring can also track your heart rate and activity. You're not going to need to carry around any bulky wallets, bags, or purses when you're out at the gym, the store, out to eat. Wearing the smart ring gives you the freedom to go where you want without carrying a lot of stuff that weighs you down. The design is comfortable to wear all day long. You can take it to the gym, to the office, and back again without the hassle of tangled wires. It's stylish and functional. The Active Pro Smart Ring is the wave of the future, and the future is right now. They make great gifts too. Order yours right now online at ActiveProX.com. That's ActiveProX.com. From author Fiona Quinn comes a no-holds-barred adventure with a dose of romance, even odds. Book 3 of 3 from the FBI Joint Task Force series, available on Amazon. If she's not careful, she'll lose more than just her heart on this mission. Someone wants the men of Delta Force out of the way, permanently. Defense Intelligence Officer Rain Myers will do whatever it takes to neutralize the threat, but the job would be a lot simpler if she didn't have to go undercover with her ex-fiancé, the only man she's ever loved. The man she pushed out of her life 7 years ago. FBI Special Agent Damian Prescott lost Rain once. It's not a mistake he plans to repeat, so he'll help her take down the terrorist threat against Delta Force and keep her safe in the process. Then he'll do everything he can do to turn their fake undercover relationship into a real one, the kind that ends in happily ever after. They're outmanned and outgunned. Can Rain and Damian stay alive long enough to complete the mission and grab their second chance at love? Maybe, but their odds are far from even. Join the team for this action-adventure driven by spies, terrorists, and the intelligence communities working to keep us safe. Even odds from author Fiona Quinn. Order your copy right now on Amazon.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. This blows my mind. There's a new documentary coming to Showtime. If you don't have Showtime, get it. Get the app. And maybe they have a deal for the first month.
Yeah, we just got Showtime because I wanted to see Better Off Dead.
Yeah, well, listen to this. Showtime, and I'm shocked at this. I don't expect it to be perfect, but this is good. Showtime will debut a docuseries covering the scandal-ridden anti-Trump super PAC, the Lincoln Project.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah, and here's how it's being described by Showtime. While working to accomplish their stated goal of defeating Trumpism, the group is shaken by internal upheaval, a sexual harassment scandal, and a tidal wave of negative press. As one fight ends, another is afoot, and this time it's personal, says the log line for the series. The series' first episode will premiere October 7th. They'll have back-to-back episodes every Friday night at 8. There's never been a these are the directors talking. There's never been a super PAC that captured the imagination of the general public like the Lincoln Project. Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But they're going to get into their scandals. So I expect them to probably be kind of pro Lincoln Project. Okay.
Well, we'll see.
I'm
we'll
expecting that.
And find out.
But I see that since they're talking about the scandals, it's definitely something to see, and I'm glad that the scandals are getting exposed.
Yeah, that's George Conway's crew, by the way.
Yeah. So I want to get to some more of the audio I have here. This is Charlie Crist. We were talking about Charlie Crist yesterday, and Charlie Crist is on our mind because he's running for governor here in Florida against Ron DeSantis. He's the Democrat, and he gave an interview on Good Morning America today. Listen to this. This is Charlie Crist.
Congressman, you know, Governor DeSantis has also banned businesses from acquiring vaccine passports. And this obviously is going to have an impact on lots of businesses there in your state, including the cruise ship industry. Where do you stand on vaccine passports and businesses?
We should have vaccine passports. I think that's important.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, we should have vaccine passports.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And I'll tell you why Charlie Crist is going to lose, okay? He's not going to be the governor of Florida. But Charlie Crist is angling for something.
I agree with you on that.
He's in Congress right now, with the House of Representatives, but he's not running for that seat again. So he's leaving Congress to run in this race that he's going to lose. He probably is trying to get Biden to appoint him to some position.
He's angling for some kind of job in Washington, I think.
Yeah, he used to be the governor of Florida a long time ago before Rick Scott, who was the governor before. He was 3 governors ago, right? We've got Ron DeSantis. Before that, we had Rick Scott, who's our senator now. And before that, it was this creep, okay, Charlie Crist. And the way that he's talking should really worry us because he's auditioning for some job that Biden will give him, and whatever that job is, he thinks vaccine passports will help him get it.
He's not going to get any job because...
Oh, yeah, Biden's going to give him something.
No, I don't think so. Nobody likes Charlie Crist.
Well, nobody likes Biden, we know either.
No, not even on the left, because he is addicted to power. He has no convictions at all, and he's just not respected or liked by anybody because he's known as a flip-flopper. And I'm not saying there's politicians that don't switch parties. They do, but he's gone to 3 parties. He went to Republican, to Independent, now, which didn't work out. Now he's a Democrat. And he has no convictions, and nobody likes him. He's lost more elections than he's won.
Kathy, that's not true. He just won the Democrat primary. So, but
he was running against Nikki Fried.
No.
I mean, she's a cheerleader.
No. Charlie Crist just won the Democrat primary for governor. He ran against a Democrat here in Florida who is the only Democrat in Florida to hold elected statewide office, Nikki Fried. She's the agricultural commissioner here in Florida, and she's awful, but she's very well known, and he beat her. So he's popular among Democrats. Now, there aren't a lot of Democrats in Florida anymore, thankfully so. But this nonsense that he's spewing about vaccine passports and everything, Democrats love to hear that, and I'm glad he's out there talking this way because I want people to hear what Democrats are all about. And, when they had all the COVID lockdowns and shutdowns, I told you these Democrats are never going to want to give you your rights back because they enjoy the control over your lives. And Charlie Crist is this wing of the Democrat Party that's still out there that if they get power again, they're going to shut you down and lock you down. So I would not say he's not popular. Among Democrats, he's popular enough. He just won a statewide race, Kathy, for Democrats. So the Democrats, Charlie Crist, vaccine passports, that makes... Democrats are whack jobs, okay? Now, this next clip I have, this is insane. This is a girl who is Hispanic, and she's dealing with weight loss issues. She can't lose weight. Okay, she's dealing with obesity, and who do you think she blames for her obesity?
White people?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Usually obesity is caused by eating too much. And listen to this. This is great. By the way, this is courtesy of Libs of TikTok. Found this. Listen.
I'm going to prove to you why white people are the reason I'm fat today. If white people didn't go looking for spices, then various sea routes to Indian subcontinent and Africa and other places of the world would not get discovered. And if they didn't get discovered, then East India Company would never come to Indian subcontinent. And if they didn't come, then the fertility of the land would not get destroyed because they forced us to cultivate tobacco and dyes and opioid, things like that. And that destroyed the fertility of my country. And then if that didn't happen and if they didn't exploit and
I think she's Indian, not like Native American Indian, but like Gandhi Indian, I think is what she, because of the accent.
Resources until my ancestors were left with nothing to eat, we wouldn't move to this grain-heavy, very little nutritious diet that we have today. Also, if white people didn't come to the Indian subcontinent, then my ancestors would not go through 50 small, medium, large famines in a period of 200 years.
I mean, this is insane, Kathy. This girl, okay, these things she's talking about in the past, whatever, they have fruits and vegetables at whatever grocery stores in her neighborhood. She's not forced to eat fattening foods.
Yeah, I don't get the connection.
And I mean, this is, as crazy as this sounds, though, this girl's like college age. She's probably in college.
Well, Brian,
this is what they're teaching them with critical race theory.
That's exactly
you're dealing with weight loss issues. It's not your fault. The white people began this food route trade that forced your ancestors to do this, and that's why you eat a bag of potato chips, an entire bag at a time.
With this Gen Z generation, especially Generation Z, which started like in, I would say, people that were born in 2000, because our daughter's 1999, so she's like I think she's right on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z. But anyway, this Gen Z generation, which are kids that are in their early 20s and in high school, there's a real anti-white sentiment that they have been taught and that they are truly believing. It's a combination of things. It's the anti-whiteness, it's victimization, and these are things they've been taught in school, that they're victims. And not only are they victims, they're victims because of white people. And the schools, the high schools and middle schools and whatever, the teachers and the colleges want them to believe that they have been victimized, that they're basically enslaved still to the white culture, and that they are victimized by the white culture to this day, and that our privilege, supposed privilege, is still holding them back. And this is a prime example of this. Her weight loss is being held back in her mind because of white people, and it goes to these young people, this Generation Z. I call them the no responsibility generation. They take zero responsibility for their actions, for their thoughts, for their behaviors. Everything is somebody else's fault, and it's always a white person whose fault it is. So that's the way they've been raised, and it's become a part of the culture now with the younger people. And there's plenty of white people that believe this too, and they have the white guilt over this. And I think it's ridiculous, and it really. They were talking about it actually on Outnumbered today. That guy who wrote the book Woke Inc., he's got another book coming out, and he said that this whole thinking of victimhood is tied to laziness, and I agree with him on that. He said this generation of young people, the Generation Z, are extremely lazy. They don't want to leave home. They don't leave the house to get food. They order food in. They work from home. They never want to leave their house and get out of their pajamas. And he said it ties in with the victim mentality of what they have been taught, that they're victims of their circumstances, they're victims of the culture, they're victims of white privilege, and it connects, it allows them to be lazy. It allows them, it's an excuse that they use to not lose weight, to not get a job, to not do this. our generation is totally opposite. Okay, we're Generation X, and I call us the latchkey kid generation because we were the first generation to deal with mass divorce in this country and deal with having single mothers, and we raised ourselves. Brian and I both dealt with this, but Brian and I don't have victim mentalities. Generation X people are extremely independent, and we take personal responsibility for our behavior, for our actions, for our words and our thoughts. We don't have a victimhood way of looking at things. I just want to say, I just saw this article in Yahoo. It's so interesting. We're talking about victimhood. Meghan Markle was in England. They don't like her over there. And the reason they don't like her is because of her own actions, not because she's black. They don't like her because she goes on TV and maligns the royal family. And now she and Harry are writing a tell-all book. And so she was going around in the crowd shaking hands, and a couple of the people snubbed her and wouldn't shake her hand. So, of course, this person who wrote this article, why do you think they're saying that is?
Because racism.
It's racism. Yeah. Racism on full display. British mourners give Meghan the cold shoulder in viral video. It's not because she's black. It's because she's a bitch, and they don't like her, and she trashes the family. She trashes the queen. They're writing a tell-all book. She says horrible things about them on television. It has nothing to do with that she's black. They just don't like her. She's not a nice person. But because she's a minority or in that category, they're going to go ahead and assume, and this ties in with the victim mentality, it's not her responsibility that people don't like her. It's because she's half black. That's why they don't like her. No, it's just she's not a nice person.
Well, listen, we're all out of time for today, but we'll be back next time, all right? Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And, of course, make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you were listening to us on. You know, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. But if there is a podcast platform, we are on it. And also, of course, I do upload the podcast to my YouTube channel where I live stream from every morning on the radio, Brian Craig on YouTube. So make sure that you follow and subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast, all right? All right, guys. Hey, listen, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.
Do you have a personal story that you've always wanted to share with the world? Well, now's your chance. Batting the Breeze is a new podcast which invites people to share their stories as well as receiving their own fully edited Batting the Breeze episode to keep. Don't worry, it's all pre-recorded, so you don't need to appear live. Your story could be about almost any topic, but ask yourself these questions first. Is it informative, amusing, or thought-provoking? Does it relate to a specific historical event? Is it emotionally stirring? Or perhaps provide a message of hope or inspiration? If it's any of those, or perhaps all of them, then head over to battingthebreeze.com/mystory. That's battingthebreeze.com/mystory. Leave some details, and the folks at Batting the Breeze will get back to you very quickly. battingthebreeze.com/mystory.